Octopath Traveler is the closest Square Enix has gotten to creating a truly great classic RPG again. Bravely Default had excellent combat, but I thought the story was quite repetitive. And then there's Am Setsuna, which had a mixed reception across the board. I skipped over Bravely Second and Lost Sphear, but I hear they're just more of the same. By comparison, Octopath Traveler still has a disappointingly weak story, but it's just so darn fun to play. Octopath Traveler features 8 main characters with 8 distinct storylines. You begin the game by selecting one of 8, and then you're free to explore and recruit 7 other characters and experience their storylines at your leisure. Despite this, character stories never overlap except for an optional post-game dungeon, and it's never really explained why these characters would end up together because they're so wildly different from one another. Thus, the establishment of the player party is completely arbitrary, but you just have to accept it. All 8 stories are dull, plotting, and they have all the tropes that you would expect from a JRPG. I almost never skip cinematics in RPGs, but I did without guilt at some junctures during Octopath Traveler. Nothing about the narrative of Octopath Traveler warrants celebration, but the characters themselves have some unique abilities that put a fun twist on RPG adventuring. And while the narrative does fall short, almost everything else in the game succeeds. For instance, Square Enix's much-touted HD 2D is a spectacular success. Attractive PS1 quality pixel art stands up on a 3-dimensional plane or is plastered like wallpaper on geometric shapes. Real-time lighting effects on pixel art make environments pop, and other effects like sparkling water come together and portray the game as something truly fresh and modern. I look forward to seeing many more games work and evolve on this HD 2D style. The soundtrack does its best to complement the visuals, but in truth, it just sounded to me like every other soundtrack I've heard in an RPG lately. The combat system is the cornerstone of Octopath Traveler, and it's extremely satisfying. It is basically just retools of feature used in previous Square games, but to an outstanding effect. Each of the 8 characters have distinct jobs and classes, but eventually you can assign second jobs to each character. Combine this with the fact that each different party combination comes with its own strategies, and there are a bunch of ways to approach any given battle. Combat makes use of boosts and breaks. Each turn, each party member receives a boost. A boost adds more power to whatever attack or ability is used, and upward of 5 boosts can be stockpiled. Timing the use of your boosts strategically is the focal point of combat, because attacking your enemy enough times with their weakness breaks them. Broken enemies will take higher damage from your attacks, and they'll also lose their turn. So you have to think about whether to spend boost or break enemies, or to hit the enemies as hard as you can whenever they're already broken. It's a brilliant mechanic made all the more fun by a variety of choice. In the beginning of the game, when you're collecting characters, the difficulty of enemies scales with you. But after a certain point, every area all just has monsters at a set level, and the game always warns you that when you arrive. As long as you stay in the areas of an appropriate level, the game typically isn't difficult. However, characters not included in the party don't receive experience, so some level grinding becomes inevitable. As you travel in the game, there's one unfair, unspoken rule that the game abides by. You must always bring the thief. There are chests out in the wild that only he can open, so if you don't bring him, it means you will have to backtrack later if you care about opening them, which you probably will. It was a very poor decision for the game to punish you for not bringing one specific character everywhere. Fortunately, that's just one small nitpick. Octopath Traveler isn't perfect, but its major faults mostly pertain to the story. Beyond that, the game looks beautiful in a distinct way, interacting with NPCs in the game world is goofy fun, and the combat system is a multifaceted and rewarding revamp of Square Enix's previous offerings. When you put all of that together, Octopath Traveler is an engaging RPG with a unique identity that it can be proud of.